Well, thank you, everybody. This is always a pleasure doing a webinar with Newton and Velocity team. Today, we're going to be talking about the advances that Velocity and the Newton team has taken in order to be compliant with the new FSRA rules, which is the level 1 and level 2 agents and how they submit deals, who can submit what deals to what lenders. On that note, it's a very important step, and it's going to be great for all owners to take advantage of this. So on that note, Dong, I'm going to pass it to you because I know there's going to be a lot of things that you guys are going to cover that will answer a lot of questions. Again, please feel free to use the Q&A or the chat. I will be monitoring both, and I will be lobbing out questions throughout the whole presentation. So on that note, Dong, floor is all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Manish, and thanks everyone for jumping in. This is, I think I put it on Facebook. I'm a bit of a compliance geek. I'm joined by my fellow compliance geek, Sangeeta. I don't know if you like that comment, but you'll have to accept it today. But it's interesting because the FSRA rule change is something that we've been in discussions with FSRA for some time. We knew it was coming. We didn't know exactly how it was all going to play out. In fact, we do have a few FSRA people online with us. They're aware of some of the changes that we've made in Velocity to help all of you with the supervision of these new rule changes. But I thought what I do is just start maybe with the background, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, just remind everybody where we are. So back on April 1st, when we all went through licensing renewal, your agents were either relegated as a level 2 or level 1. So depending on years of service, you are level 1 or level 2. All of you are aware that no matter what you are, whether you're an agent or a broker or principal broker, all of us have a responsibility to complete the level 2 course or exam in order to maintain our status. So even I, as a principal broker for Mortgage Architects, just did the challenge exam in order for me to remain a principal broker. So really important for all of you to stay on top of your agents and remind them of that. And just because you've been relegated to level 2 agent, I think some people have forgotten that they need to take the course, or they've become very procrastinating and not doing it until the very last minute, which is human nature. But I'm really encouraging all of us not to do that. The course is tough. The exam is hard. So the worst thing is for somebody to leave it till the end of February or March, fail the first attempt, and then scramble to do a second test. So please make sure you stay on top of your agents. All that being said, one of the really important things is as of April 1st, you as principal brokers and myself have an obligation to make sure all of our agents are advertising ourselves accordingly as a level 1 or level 2. And the other thing that's really important as principal brokers is it's our responsibility to make sure that level 1 agents only submit applications to CMHC approved lenders. So to make it really simple, if you are a MIC or private lender, a level 1 agent cannot submit deals to those institutions or lenders. So the problem we've had up to this point is there's nothing stopping an agent from sending a deal to a FSGuard or CMI or any of these MIC lenders. So really what we've done is in partnership with the team over at Newton and Velocity is work together to say, how can we as a network and as a technology solution provider provide tools and systems to help our principal brokers with the supervision of those new rule changes. So that's really how we've come to be where we are today. Back in the end of August, there were some new enhancements that were rolled out by Newton. We waited until September when all of us got back from vacation to really roll this out. So I'm pleased that I'm joined by Sangeeta and the team at Newton to sort of roll this out. Mary would have joined us. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well. But with that, I'm going to pass it over to Kevin to talk a little bit about what the changes are over on the Newton Velocity side, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Dong. And you guys can refer to us as Thing 1 and Thing 2, just like the FSR levels. One thing I want you guys to walk away with today: Dong can pass the exam, so can you. So
that hurts, man. That hurts.
Oh, sorry, brother.
That's okay.
Okay. So again, thank you for everyone for joining today. It's really important that this is a tool for you to use to help you monitor your brokers right up front. Instead of having to wait until you get the compliance forms and figure out that a submission may have gone through to someone that they shouldn't be submitting to. This tool is going to allow you to stop it up front. So it's important that everyone take away from today, if I haven't already done so, how do I code my agent as level 1 or level 2? So Carly's actually going to run everyone through a couple different things today. The first one is, as an administrator or a broker owner, going into Velocity and updating the profile of the agent to show level 1 or level 2. The second thing she's going to show is, how does that show up on compliance forms? And because it's going to make it seamless for part of the process around compliance. And last but not least, she's also going to demonstrate if a level 1 agent tries to submit to a non-CMHC approved lender, how it stops you and what happens there. So again, feel free to stop us at any point or type in questions that Vanessa is going to moderate. Some of them he may answer himself if he knows, or he's just going to lob them out there for us. So all questions are good questions, so keep them coming. And with that,
yeah, actually, Sangeeta, there's a question that just popped in through the chat. One of our owners asked, how have we been managing sort of this level 1, level 2, despite these new tools being put in place? So Sangeeta, I know you do compliance. You're the chief compliance person for MA. Maybe just explain what you've done up to this point, monitoring how level 1 agents do business with certain lenders.
Well, so far, I must say thank you to Newton, because I think this is a big deal for us that you've implemented this sort of hard stop at the origination level. So it's not just that you can't co-broker these deals to agent level 2 or brokers. Basically, you're not allowed to even originate a deal. So that's where the hard stop is, which is great. Thank you, Newton. We at the back end, what we're doing is we've actually maintaining it manually, because there's no other way for us to monitor this. So essentially, even on Expert, there isn't anything that we can do to monitor this. So we are checking every deal that comes in to make sure that it's not being submitted by an agent level 1. The good thing is that usually for these private deals, we have what's called the investor lender disclosure, the Form 1, that comes in ahead of time. So it's comes in even before the deal is, even before the commitment is issued. So that way, that's one of the ways that we're able to track that, which is something we've been able to do. I must say proudly that we don't have anybody that's fallen off. So we're pretty good with this. However, we've had an instance where one of our franchises, one of the deals was done by an agent level 1, and we saw it when the file came in for compliance. And I mean, at MA, I don't think we'll pay on those deals if we see anything that's this sort of unlicensed activity. So we won't pay on those deals. But we had to go back to the broker owner to find out if they were agreeable to pay on this deal, and he said yes. And so I picked up the phone and I called him up and I sort of explained the implications of doing this, because if there is an audit by FSRA, then it's going to be a problem. So that's where we're at. So I think we're doing a fairly good job up until now.
Yeah, and thank you, Sangeeta, because I know my license rests on your good work. There's another thing that just came through chat. Use a Q&A, guys, if you have questions. But someone just asked, what would be the implications of an E&O claim if a level 1 agent did a deal with a non-approved lender? And the answer to that is I'm not quite sure. I think if I think about E&O insurance, they don't cover for unregulated activity. So this would technically be considered non-licensed activity. So I think the thing here is for E&O insurance is we open up an area of risk that if an agent does deals with a lender they're not supposed to, it could be a reason to deny coverage. So I think for that reason, it's really important for all of us to make sure that we're on top of our agents, at least demonstrating from a brokerage and a principal broker perspective that we've got supervision in place to monitor these sorts of things. Again, at the end of the day, we can't stop people from doing something if they choose to be nefarious about it. But if we've done all the right things to demonstrate supervision, then we should be okay. But great question on E&O. I think it's a bit of a gray area that we're not quite sure exactly how that's going to unwind. So with that, I'm going to stop the questions because I know Carly's excited about to deliver the demo. So I'm going to stop
and I
interrupting.
think just to add one more thing, I think what Sangeeta if I was a broker owner, that's a great thing to do. So you just picking up the phone and calling them and letting them understand the implications. So again, thank you for everything you do and keeping our brokers safe. So
Yeah, if I may just add to that, we should probably be adding that to our policies and procedures manual as well. So in the event of an E&O claim, we're always asked to send our policies manual. So that helps them to assess the implications.
Great point as well. So stop being a keener while we have FSRA on the line, Sangeeta. So, but I do appreciate it. Okay, Carly, over to you.
Carly.
Okay, thanks, guys. Just gonna go ahead and share my screen. And there we go. Let me know when you can see.
Yep, we can see.
Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna do to go into your agents to mark them as either level 1, level 2, or whatever they need to be. First, you'll need to have an office administrator account. So that's the first thing. If you don't see this administration option in the account, probably let me know and I'll fix it for you. But basically, you're going to be going into this office admin tab. When you click on that, the first thing you'll see is the list of offices that you have access to. And if you scroll down, you'll have your list of users or agents in the system. Some really good names of these agents here, office test, etc. I'm going to look up myself and just click that agent's name to go in and edit their profile. We good so far? Awesome. Okay, so in the second column, the authorized title section, this is where you're going. It might be blank, which is fine. That just means it hasn't been set with anything at that point. But if you click on it, there's a couple of options here. You have broker, agent, associate, non-licensed, agent, associate, mortgage agent, level 1 license. It's a long one. And agent, associate, mortgage agent, level 2 license. If you select this agent level 1 license, that's where you're going to get those restricted lenders. Everything else is going to allow this agent or this person to access the entire list of lenders. So agent level 1, if you select that, that's where you're saying that this person should not have access to those non-CMHC lenders. Sound good?
Yeah, looks great. I think it's important for everyone to know we try to make this as simple as possible. So really it's just a couple clicks, get into your agent profile, like Carly said, choose your authorized user. And as soon as you choose it, it's saved. There's not another save button that you have to click, move on to the next agent.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna actually jump out and go right into that account. Just 1 second.
While that's happening, I do have a question. Will you also be covering, can we customize compliance docs within Velocity to limit docs, or is it just for the lender part of this?
I'll take that one, Manesh. At this point, we don't customize docs. If the subject property is in Ontario, they'll see all the Ontario disclosure documents. Again, it's something that is a hard thing to manage on our side for you to allow that, because it's a lot of one-off types of things. So at this point, it's not in our purview to do it. But if we do get more demand, it's something we can look at.
The other thing I'd maybe make mention, sorry, Curly, on that note is about a month ago, we did a webinar with all the owners, with all 3 brands. It really was the byproduct of a audit we had over at MA. So for MIC and private lenders, there's an extra disclosure document that we've created. One of the things that came out of the audit was we need to do a better job with disclosure to borrowers. So just using the borrower disclosure on the Form 1 isn't good enough. We need to do more, talk about things like more detail around material risks, talk more about sort of exit strategy, why you're in this kind of product. So it's actually something that Sangeeta worked on over at MA. We sort of cascaded that to the other brands. So if you don't have a copy of that new disclosure document, let us know. It's sort of the first iteration of it, but it's really important that all of you start thinking about it because it is something that's going to be mandated, I think, by FSRA and the MBRCC as we sort of approach the end of the year, heading into the new year. So you might as well be ahead of the curve.
Okay. Anything else before I pick back up?
Sorry, Carly.
Okay.
That's okay, guys. Feel free to interrupt. So now I'm in the agent level 1 account, so my own. And I just want to jump into a deal. And as Kevin said, look at that disclosure document in the system. So first thing I'm going to do is add the Ontario disclosure to borrower statement to pull that in. I have that in my conditions now. I'm going to select my product. This deal has already been filled out completely, so it's going to populate with that information. And if I scroll down, I can see the authorized person title on this form is defaulted to mortgage agent level 1, and it's locked. So it's kind of done that for me. It already knows who I am and what my level is. If I create this PDF and actually open up that form, it will be entered into that form as well. Sound good? Great.
And Carly, on that note, I think it's really important that all the principal brokers on this call recognize and remember that in all of our marketing material, including disclosure documents, we are supposed to make sure that the agents identify themselves as level 1 or level 2. So this is really important for all of us. We did share with FSRA that we were a little late getting to the table, but it's a demonstration that we're heading in the right direction. So important for all of you to make sure you go into the back end on the admin side and update each and one of your agents.
Yeah. And encourage all your agents to update their own profiles as well with their current addresses and contact numbers, because that helps with all your compliance forms also.
Perfect. Okay. Last section that Kevin mentioned, so heading to that submission. Jumping into the mortgage request section. So again, everything's filled out. There's no missing information in this deal. I've pulled in my lender as FSGuard, just as a test. And if I click this submit to lender button, I don't have a credit bureau, which is fine. I'm going to submit without. It's going to give me this error. So Carly Fotia has a FSRA level 1 license and can't submit to this lender. So it's not actually going to allow me to submit to that lender because I have that level 1 license. So take me right back to that lender section, and it's just saying, yeah, you don't have access to submit here. So again, stopping people from submitting to before they actually submit the deal.
Yeah, and Carly, that's excellent. And I think there was a question or a comment earlier. Someone said on the Philogix platform, what they've done is they've made everybody, made every level 1 agent reviewer status. So you can't submit to any lender, but you may be in a situation where you have a level 1 agent that you're okay submitting deals to lenders. In this case, the velocity solution becomes quite handy. So really, I think simple. I think the one thing to remember is Sangeeta and Marys of the world worked with Newton Velocity to make sure that each lender is categorized in the right area. You may find that you may disagree with something. In that case, let us know or send the ticket into Velocity and we'll review it. But we did get the brightest people in our network to help us do all the categorization. So I think it's been the tool's been up and running, Kevin, for about a month now, and we haven't had. I think we have one comment up to that, no other issue. So, but if there is one, just let us know. Yeah,
like anything, guys, Velocity is your product, so you keeping us informed and up to date. If something looks like it's incorrect, like Dong said, send a note into customer care, and we'll get on it right away.
Sangeeta, I'm going to lob this question over you. The question is, do you need a investor disclosure disclosure from Mix 2?
If they're not licensed with FSRA, then we have been asking for the Form 1.
Okay, so to be clear, Sangeeta, what you're saying is when you have a MIC and they're not registered with a FSRA as a licensed brokerage, you were asking for the investor disclosure document to be integrated, material risk document to be created.
Yes, that's
okay. Yeah. Any other questions from the group? Manesh, are you seeing anything else out there that we should?
No. right now, so far, people are just asking for certain docs to
Yeah.
be sent to them, and then we'll address that.
Yeah, I think on that, I think really important, just to remind everyone, because you may have missed it over the summer, but the MBRCC sent a draft proposal for suitability. And some of you may have missed that. And the document that Sangeeta and company created over on the MA side, part and parcel with that, part and parcel with an audit, was just a demonstration that on MIC and private transactions, it was FSRA's interpretation that we weren't doing enough from a borrower disclosure perspective. So, making sure that we've got the right product for the customer, making sure the customer understands why they're being put in these sorts of products, talking about, what may be my exit strategy if we want to get out of these sorts of things, are all things that are sort of covered in this new disclosure document that we created. I know that FSRA is contemplating maybe sort of a different templated agreement, but until that document comes out, we've at least got something in place to make everybody better at what we're doing. So, it's really important that I see some of the comments coming back. Can we have a copy of that disclosure document? Absolutely, please take it. It's better, use it, slice and dice it. Sangeeta and I will not be offended if you do something differently with it. But if you take bits and pieces of it to make your disclosure document better, then we're all in a better place collectively. The one thing that we've got going really well with FSRA is ongoing dialogue. So I know that Sangeeta, Manesh, and Mary have all been sort of involved in a number of discussions, talking about things like trade names and team names. We've had discussions with them on suitability. So I think one of the really great things about being part of the DLC group is the ability to have these sort of conversations. So just a great big thank you for FSRA for jumping on this call with us. I know they wanted to be quiet and sort of listen and sort of hear some of the feedback from the networks directly and the registrants, as opposed to sort of a one-off demo. So I'm really, really encouraged that all of you are here and asking questions. And I think a bit of a demonstration that the group and our partnership with Newton and Velocity, we're doing things to help all of you be compliant with the regulators. So, Manish, is there anything else that we need to cover off?
Yeah, so is there a lender category list that can be shared? And does Velocity carry lenders not registered with FSRA? If yes, is there a list? So I think they're asking for a list of level 1s and level 2s. Is there anything, or is that just in the lender submit section?
The list is in the lender submit section, but it doesn't specify whether they're CMHC approved or not. If you go to the CMHC website, it's actually readily available right there. So that's what we cross-reference with as well. So I'd encourage people to just go on the CMHC website and take a look.
Yeah, and I think, Kevin, one of the conscious decisions you guys made was not to restrict the ability for level 1 agents to be able to see all lenders.
Correct.
Right. So I think one of the fears was if I'm a level 1 agent and I just had a conversation with FisGuard or CMI or Ginkgo or Radiance and I wanted to see them on the drop down and I didn't see them, the first thing would be is they're not available to me, which is not true. We want to be all agents to be able to see all lenders, but just understand that when they try to submit it to a Radiance or a Ginkgo or a CMI, it blocked them from sending them. So really important that was sort of the strategy that we took as we sort of rolled this out.
I think you probably answered this question, but it's the same question. Are all lenders, including mixed on Velocity, are FSRA registered? I think DMHC approved.
Sorry, say that again.
So I think it's the same question. Are all lenders, including mixed on Velocity, FSRA registered? I think they meant to say CMHC approved, but
yeah, no. I think this might tie back to Sangeeta's response, which was, are all MICs registered with FSRA? And I think the answer is no, because MICs are governed by the OSC. They're not governed by FSRA. So you might have a MIC that's not tied or registered with FSRA. Then the question might be, well, why would a MIC be registered with FSRA? And Sangeeta, and Mary might want to sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm a MIC and I wanted to have a conversation with the customer on renewal, for instance, then I would have to be a licensed mortgage agent or brokerage. In that case, they would be required to be FSRA licensed. Mary or Sangeeta, do you want to just make comment to that or correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, hi guys. I can't turn on my video for some reason, but hello everyone. Yeah, so MICs are required to be regulated and they have to be licensed. So the first thing we do is we search the lender on FSRA's site. And if you find their license number, then you know, in fact, they are licensed. And in that case, you do not require a Form 1 lender investor disclosure.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, I got another question. It's regarding a specific lender, Prompt Financial. They do not identify as a private lender. They identify themselves as a monoline lender. Their applications are done on their portal. Do I need a Form 1 regardless?
I'll pass that to Sangeeta or Mary.
Sangeeta, are you or Mary familiar with Prompt Financial?
Yes, I'm familiar with Prompt, and I believe they fall into the category of accredited investor. Sangeeta, if you want to correct me there, but they certain assets, amount of assets required to be able to be exempt from having to do any Form 1s. I believe they qualify under that exemption rule based on their net assets.
Yeah, and
That's correct. I agree with Mary, yes.
Yeah, and I think on that point, the other thing to make mention is remember as principal brokers of your brokerage, you have the right to decide which lenders you want to do business with, right? So I'm going to pick on Prompt Financial because someone brought it up. You as a principal broker may decide that Prompt Financial is not a lender that we're interested in doing business with. That's your prerogative as a broker owner and principal broker. That being said, just a reminder that if you are as Mary mentioned, a accredited investor, then the Form 1 is not required, investor disclosure is not required, but important for all of you to be aware of that. So, yeah.
Okay, back to lenders being registered with FSRA. Can you ensure that all lenders, including privates on the system, are registered with FSRA?
Yeah, that's Richard. Great question. It's that's a hard one. So here's what I would actually say to you. When I was on the MPC board, one of the things that we talked about was it'd be really good if there was one central body that monitored registrations across the country. Because one of the challenges we have is every single lender needs to double check every so often that Mary, Sangeeta, or Dong are still registered licensees, right? And everybody goes through that effort. So wouldn't it be nice if you know the National Association did that work for all lenders and brokerages and ensuring that people are registered accordingly? We're not there yet. Getting everyone on board to believe in that is probably a little bit harder than it sounds. But it's Richard, it's really hard for us to do that. And there's so many weird nuances, right? Yeah. But I'd say most cases, private lenders are not registered with FSRA. And so I would treat private lenders as typically either accredited or non-accredited lenders. And when in doubt, create the borrower disclosure form or investor disclosure form, because in the absence of full knowledge, over disclosure is better than under disclosure.
I was going to say that, Don. The words right out of my mouth.
There you go.
And just another note on private mortgages, guys. As we know, most of the lawsuits that are out there in Canada within the financial industry are primarily on private mortgages. So I've been asked by a lot of our franchises, that's one of the reasons why I was late on this call, was to host a training on how to properly complete private mortgages, how to complete the Form 1, when is it provided? There's a time frame that the investor must sign this form and wait 2 business days. Otherwise, they sign a Form 1.2. So going through that training process with your level 2s or their newly level 2s is a great thing to do. And I just hosted a session for one of our DLC franchise owners. So for those of you who want to have a session focused on primarily private mortgages and how to handle the process and the documents, please reach out to me anytime, mary@dlc.ca.
Manesh, I think there's a question. Is Velocity also vetting all onboarded lenders and mixed to be legitimate and registered? I don't know that that's the case.
We do our best to make sure everyone's legitimate.
Yeah.
But registration can somewhat be out of our control, and something that's an ongoing, an ongoing piece.
Yeah, and I'd also argue that most mix that choose to be on system are ones that are investing in their business and generally legitimate, right? Because if I'm going to be a nefarious MIC lender, then I'm going to probably try to stay off the radar.
Yeah.
So I think generally speaking, you come online or on grid because you are approved. The other thing I think as well is if they're online, Kevin, and they are getting Equifax reports, that means
there's a vetting process as well that goes through with all of our contracts. So
yeah. So again, this is actually probably a good reminder. Is just a reminder that when you guys sign your agreements with Equifax, one of the things that you agree to is you're not going to send a copy of that Equifax report to a non-registered lender. So that's another reason why you could lose your ability to pull Equifax reports.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why through Velocity and other platforms we're trying to get everybody on system.
That's why we've restricted printing applications as well, right? So try and keep everyone compliant.
Yeah. Manesh, anything else?
Yeah. Again, there's just some comments. Everything from be good to suggest that all the top compliant docs for the brokers write-ups, little story verbiage on the plan, what to do, when to do it. So a little bit of a summary of what to do, when to do it, and what docs to put in. Get the client to sign in the date. So just that's more of a comment.
And you know what, Adam, great point. One of the things that we got nailed at MA was documents. So that's a big no-no. Make sure the customer dates it. If you are using things like DocuSign, then I think it's dated for you. But we had scenarios where our agents and brokers were actually printing the date on the application and forwarding it off. So that's a big no-no. And Adam, another really great story I heard at the MPC conference symposium was one of the brokerages out there. What they were doing is they're actually pre-typing a letter from the customer to the brokerage. So in other words, hey Sangeeta, thank you for being my mortgage agent on this transaction. I, as a customer, understand that I don't qualify for any transaction. I understand that my credit bureau is very low. Most lenders won't accept it. I also recognize that you are going to put me in a private lender, and with that comes some risks related to renewal. I also recognize that there's fees involved in this transaction. The material risks related to private lending is X, Y, and Z. And then the customer would actually sign it and send it to the brokerage. So there's another example, I think, Adam, of that sort of thing, where you're getting the customer to be engaging in that sort of scenario. So there's a lot of different ways of sort of doing the right thing. So you guys pick and choose what works for you. As I said, if you want to take that document that Sangeeta created at MA as a benchmark, great. If you want to use parts of it, great. If you want to do something that Adam's doing, wonderful. It doesn't really matter to us so long as we're doing more than we're doing today and getting above the curve. So that's what I would say.
And to add to that, Adam said he had a client say he did not want help with his credit. Adam wrote that up and had him sign it.
Yeah.
Great idea just for CYA.
Yeah. And Sangeeta and Mary and I often laugh that, over disclosure and remember, 60 or 70% of all claims are related to private transactions or where broker fees are charged. So, you know where the risks are. So on those transactions, do a better job with documentation. I think it's called, Antoinette Long said it to me once. She's head of financial institutions at FSRA. She said it's a test that she does, which says in 5 years' time, if I was to pull up this file and I was to go through it, could I have made the same recommendations based on the information provided with what's in file? Because the problem sometimes is in the moment, you know what the right thing to do is, but you don't document it. But in 5 years' time, could you have actually, repurposed that solution? And if the answer is no, then we haven't done a good enough job with our documentation. Yes, MA is willing to share the templated letter to protect us. I think, Manesh, you've got a copy of it. So
Yeah.
you're free to share it, and I know that Mary's got it as well, and we've all worked together to try to make it better. It's an ongoing iteration. We'll get better as more brokerages get audited and FSRA has feedback on it, but it's better than what we've done with the initial board disclosure.
Okay, Kevin, maybe, I know this might be a Kate Henderson question, but again, back to what Richard was asking. When a lender is onboarded on Velocity, at that point, does Kate or her team check if they're FSRA approved at that point when they're coming on to Velocity?
I would have to double check with Kate. I'm assuming that's part of the process, as part of the vetting process, especially if, because they have credit bureau access. So again, if it's required by Equifax, it's going to be required by us, but I'm not sure of that answer.
I would actually, and Richard, I know you're on this one. My guess is probably, and I guess, and we'll go back to Kate and double check, but my guess is we're confirming that they are approved to receive credit reports from Equifax.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that we're going into FSRA to confirm whether or not they're a licensed entity approved by FSRA. So that's probably my best educated guess without going through the details, but duly noted that
Something we'll follow up on.
Yeah, 100%. Mary and Sangeeta, as being the compliance geeks at MA and DLC, any last words for the group before we sign off?
No, I just think that I want to thank Velocity, first of all, for helping us with this, just this tremendous, because it was a burden on our brokers to monitor what their level ones were doing. And now we have that ability to block them. It's incredible. So thank you so much. That's basically what I want to say is thank you, Velocity, for helping us with this tremendous burden. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And
Yeah, I
thank
second that, Mary. Thank you, Kevin, and your team. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you guys, in our corner and help us do our jobs better. Thank you.
I'll put that right back to you guys. It's thank you, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this either. So it's all a collaborative effort on all of our parts, and Velocity is just going to get better because we listen to each other, work with each other, and that's really the goal here. So
yeah. So I think the takeaway is one, Carly, thank you for the demo. One, make sure you go on Velocity and go on the admin panel. Make sure you've documented your agents as level 1, level 2. That will automatically trigger the ability for level 1 agents to be able to submit to certain lenders. But the takeaway is go into the admin panel and update it. Bravo to you. Number 2, if you haven't seen the new disclosure docs for non-CMHC high-risk transactions, ask Mary, Manesh, and Sangeeta for it. And really what we're doing here is we're trying to work together as all 3 brands to make sure that we're all compliant. And if we do that, then we're in a better place, and our regulators will be nicer to us too.
yeah, I think last thing I'd leave you with, and being a previous broker owner myself, best to over disclose, protect yourself, and if you don't know, just do more. So
Perfect.
okay. Thanks everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. And we are running this again for any of your friends and family that may not have been able to join again. We will be doing this same time, same place on the 27th.
Yeah. So we didn't tell you, Sangeeta and Mary, so if you can make yourself available,
Yeah.
we'd appreciate that.
You too, Carly.
Thanks for the